This plant is Bougainvillea, and it is a very popular plant in warm areas. I'm in California, and I live in the Bay Area around San Francisco, and this is used a lot around the Bay. But one of the things I'm going to address here is where you can use it and where you really probably can't get away with it. I'm right on the edge of where one can use it and or not. And so I'll get to that in a minute. But bougainvillea are kind of a vining, shrubby type of plant. It's used both ways. You just saw some that are used as a climber, and by the way, they do have thorns. A lot of people aren't aware of that until they encounter the plant. Here you see a variegated variety. This is like a rose in a sense that it's been very hybridized. There are many colors for the bougainvillea blossom. And so let's get into how to use them in design. Actually, before I do that, the blossom, or the part that one sees that is so colorful, is actually not the blossom at all. That is a bract. And in the middle of that bract is a tiny white flower. And it's very inconspicuous, but the color that you're seeing there, just to be clear, is a bract, and it's not the actual flower. So you can see here that they're used as climbers, they're used as shrubs, as hedges. One of the big surprises for me as I've been more aware of these is how many different ways they're used. Here you see them as a huge mass planting as a barrier, and I see this a lot. We have a place down in Mexico and in Puerto Vallarta, and these are used in so many different ways that I just never see here in California. So very pliable or malleable type of plant, and depending on the variety and how big it gets, people are very creative with how they use that. But they're really known for their color and their bright colors. And I think they're just kind of the quintessential tropical, subtropical plant. Now, in an area where I'm at, we get frost down a little below freezing every year. And I tried growing this in a protected courtyard with terrible luck. Every winter it burned back, and I finally gave up on it after 3 years. Now I have people in my neighborhood who've been more successful, and part of that are the varieties. So if you're thinking about using this in an area that gets frost, you want to start the plant in the spring so it has as long as possible to establish before winter comes. And then you want to use varieties that are frost resistant. There are a couple of varieties, and you need to check your local area to see what people are supplying that are frost resistant varieties. But make sure you ask for that specifically, because a lot of nurseries will sell you whatever they've got to sell because that's the business they're in. But if you want to be successful, you really need a variety that's more frost resistant. So these get quite large, and if you don't give them space to do that in your design, it's going to be a lot of maintenance. You see here that most of the ones you're looking at have been heavily pruned. The ones that aren't are given a lot of room to climb, and that's kind of the nature of this plant. They get 15 to 30 feet in length, and so if you want to accommodate that in whatever design you're using. These, when planted, are very sensitive to having their roots disturbed. That's an important thing to note. So that one of the things that's recommended is to have the bottom of the container cut off and then slide the container away from the root ball once it's settled on the ground. Just be careful that however it's planted, that you're very careful with the roots, because that can set you off on the wrong foot right away if the roots get disturbed. And then sunny walls. I mean, these just love sunshine. They're like roses. The better sun they get, the more they're going to bloom. They are heavy bloomers though, so because of that you want to make sure that they get the food that will support that heavy bloom. And after spring, that's a good time to fertilize them and give them another shot in the arm so that they can take off and do another cycle. In mild winter areas, these can bloom all year long. This photo right here was taken April 1st in Santa Barbara, and so you can tell how early in the season these things are in full display. And that is Bougainvillea. Great plant. The deer eat it, by the way. I would not use this in deer areas, and it's moderately drought tolerant. That's Bougainvillea. Great showy plant, especially for tropical and subtropical effects.